This is our analysis of Robert Schumann's Aus meinen Tränen, spriessen from Dichterliebe, Opus 48, number 2. I've numbered the measures. This is going to be a little bit awkward because in order for the score to show large enough, I can't get the whole score on one screen, so I'll be moving the page around. Sorry, that's going to be a little disconcerting, I realize. We have 17 measures. You've already listened to it, so you know there's lots of repetition within this song. For example, the first 4 measures are repeated in the next 4 measures, though with different text, and at the end we get a repetition of the cadence, and actually there's repetition starting in the last 4 measures, varied repetition. We're in the key of A major, so A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp supports our diminished leading tone triad, and back to A. Thinking ahead to accidentals, we get a D sharp in measure 9. D sharp is leading tone to E, so the string of 5 letters B, D sharp, F sharp, A, and C, the dominant function chords that resolve to E. Here is an A sharp resolving to B, so the string of 5 letters resolving out to B would be F sharp, A sharp, C sharp, E, and G natural. I should put a natural there since G sharp is a diatonic. Likewise, this should be a C natural. We also have an E sharp in measure 12. E sharp is the leading tone to F sharp. F sharp is 6. So C sharp, E sharp, G sharp, B, and D natural. Those are some of our accidentals. One more is the G natural in the pickup to measure 13. G natural is the subtonic in the key of A major. The subtonic points to 4. So in the key of D major, A, C sharp, E, G natural, and B flat is our string of 5 letters that spell the dominant function chords leading out to D. A major, notice that we start the left hand in the treble clef. It's always a little confusing when you're reading clefs that are not what you expect. In measure 10, the left hand switches and then remains to the bass clef. We start off with just the thirds of A and C sharp. There is some question of, is that supposed to be A, C sharp, E, or is that F sharp, A, C sharp? We're going to take it as being a 1 chord, in part because we've all looked ahead and see that we have 5, 7 to 1. The piece concludes in A major, and most of the time pieces start in the same key. The most attentive gesture, the gesture that's going to get the most attention in measures 1 and 2, is this descending passing motion, the descending scale, not a complete scale, but descending scalar motion in measure 1 in the left hand. The voice and the right hand are both static. So please do not rewrite the G sharp, A, C sharp as some sort of inverted A major chord. G sharp is simply a passing tone. The F sharp, though you can hear it as passing motion, you could also say, it forms a real 6 chord when it passes by. So if you want to label that a 6 chord, we'll come back and discuss it a little bit more. Or you can label the F sharp as passing motion. The E, do not label this as an A triad in 6/4 inversion. This E is almost really like a passing tone. We're heading down to D, D, F sharp, A, D. That's our 4 chord, and then back to 1. Measure 3, there's the 5, 7. Notice that the E actually begins as the step above the 7th. Please don't label the 4-2. The reason is that the E in the left hand has a register transfer, or an octave displacement, to give you a real E as a bass note for the 5, 7, and then a root position A major chord. And that is repeated in measure 4, 5/7 to 1. Interesting that the voice does not participate in the tonic chord in measure 4. So let's go back and look at measures 1 and 2. You've probably already begun to associate that, oh, we started on 1, returned to 1. There's no dominant function chords in there. This is not a 1-5-1. Oh, this is a tonic prolongation. The 6 is a substitute harmony. We've talked about substitute harmonies before. And the 4 is actually a neighboring harmony. C sharp, D, C sharp. The 4 chord, though it's in root position, harmonizes the neighbor note that's in the melody. You can read about that at example 1.8, letter E, in which Kaplan is talking about prolongation with neighboring chords, and he has an example with a root position 1, root position 4, root position 1 with neighboring motion in the melody. So measures 1 and 2 are a tonic prolongation, dominant function back to 1, dominant function, and in the piano back to 1. The question is, oh, is this a perfect authentic cadence? Is this a perfect authentic cadence? There's a sense in which B, A, B, A, but you've got these little C sharps right there. Dum, da, dum. That sort of, ooh, it's sort of a perfect authentic cadence, but it's sort of not at the same time because it's not clear. 2, 1. It's a little early to have a perfect authentic cadence. Is another way of saying, no, it's not, but we can get back to that later because there's a sense in which, oh, it is. It's a perfect authentic cadence that is then repeated. We've already discussed that measures 5 through 8 are repetition exactly of measures 1 through 4, exactly with respect, except for the change of text. Measure 9 starts on a 5 chord. Again, the melody and the right hand are static with very little motion until you get the change of pitch on the downbeat of measure 10. In measure 9, what will grab your attention is the descending E, D sharp, C sharp, B, and then A sharp, B is the descending scalar motion. This D sharp is definitely passing the C sharp, E, G sharp, B. Well, if it's parallel to measure 1 with the 6th chord, then you would have to say this is some kind of C sharp 7 chord. If you're thinking that, oh, I've gone to the key of E, I've had a D sharp, I'm just waiting for a confirmation that we're in the key of E major, in the dominant, I'm listening for a cadence in the dominant, then you might want to think of this in terms of E major, so this would be C sharp, E, G sharp, B, a 6/7 chord in the key of E major. Or you can just say, oh, that C sharp is passing down through the B to the A sharp. A sharp is our leading tone to B. So we have A sharp, C sharp in the right hand, and E being sustained also in the right hand. And then we have a string of passing note motion. These are what your ear will listen for, this passing motion. So if we're looking at chords that resolve out to B, F sharp, A sharp, C sharp, E, G natural is our string of 5 dominant function letters that spell the dominant function chords. A sharp, C sharp, E is the leading tone triad out to B. If it were G sharp, well, that would be the half diminished 7, and we would expect the chord of resolution not to be minor but major. A sharp, C sharp, E, G natural is the fully diminished 7 of B. A sharp, C sharp, E, F sharp is the 5/7 of B minor, and A sharp, E sharp, A sharp, C sharp, E, this E is then doubled. So there's a sense in which this whole measure is about dominant function chords that lead out to B minor. In our original key of A, B minor is 2. If we thought we were modulating to the key of E major, we would expect this to be B major, because B major is the dominant of E, not B minor. So we know now that we're not modulating to the key of E major because we would have expected a B major chord, not B minor. This is all dominant function, so how to label it. You can label it 7 diminished and not worry about any of that. You could label it 5/7 of and take the F sharp. I'm going to put it as 7 diminished because those are the tones that are sustained. So it's a 7 diminished. It's not in root because it's not in first inversion the way we expect. It is in root position, but let's call it the 7 diminished of 2, knowing that many of these passing notes add to the dominant relationship of measure 10 to the downbeat of measure 11. End of measure 11, G sharp, D natural, F sharp, and B natural. Well, now we have a chord that is not diatonic in the key of A major. We have a chord that is not diatonic in the key of A major. So we need to think about this chord in terms of what is happening. G sharp, B natural, if we are trying to stack it up as thirds, G sharp, B natural, D natural, and F sharp. This is a half diminished 7th chord. G sharp, B natural, D natural is diminished, D to F sharp is a major third, so this is a half diminished. When half diminished 7th chords are on a leading tone, we expect it to resolve to a major triad. G sharp is a leading tone to A, so we would expect the next harmony to be A major. And instead, the downbeat of measure 12 is C sharp major. So this cannot be a leading tone half diminished 7th chord. C sharp major. By pure Roman numerals in the key of A major, we would put 3 because C sharp is 3 in the key of A major. But a Roman numeral 3 does not have a function in the key of A major. We like to think of harmonies in terms of its function. How does C sharp major function in the key of A major? In the key of A major, C sharp major is going to be the dominant of 6. So I'm going to label this as the 5 of 6, which is F sharp minor. Let's keep that down. 5 of 6, which is F sharp minor. And then the G sharp half diminished 7 moving out to C sharp dominant 7 exactly repeats. In the key of F sharp minor, let's spell that out. I'll use this space. F sharp, G sharp diminished, A is the relative major, B, C sharp is the dominant, D natural is the submediate, E natural is the subtonic that is the 5 of the relative major, E sharp diminished gets us back to F sharp. So in the key of F sharp, G half diminished 7 is a 2 chord. So this is the 2 half diminished 7 of 6, leading to the 5 of 6. Well, 2 naturally progresses to 5. And if we go back even further, this B minor can be thought of as 4 of 6. Gets a little complicated there. The 2 chord in A major is the 4 chord in relationship to F sharp minor, which is 6 in the key of A major. So there's a sense in which we have 4, 2 half diminished, 5, all in the key of F sharp minor. Did we ever have an F sharp chord? No. So we have the implication of F sharp minor without having the F sharp minor chord itself. Pick up to 13, A, E, G, A, and C sharp. A, C sharp, E natural, G natural. This is the 5/7 of 4. A, C sharp, E, G natural. So pick up to 13, 5/7 of 4. All of 13 sustains that harmony, and 4 enters in measure 14 on the downbeat, returning to 1. Notice that within measure 14, the F sharp progresses through F natural down to E. On one level, that is a chromatic passing tone. I wouldn't state that this is a major 4 chord, then a minor 4 chord, and then a 1 chord. That gets a little fussy when you're going to hear this not as a change of harmony per se, but as a chromatic passing tone. What is interesting is that the F natural is an inharmonic respelling of the C sharp. This sort of inharmonic respelling of pitches is quite common, or you will encounter it often enough if you're looking for it in Mozart, Schubert, Schumann. This is an ornamented version, 13 and 14 is an ornamented version of our initial measures 1 and 2 that were a tonic prolongation. We can't say that measures 13 and 14 are still a tonic prolongation, because while it arrives on tonic in measure 14, certainly measure 13 is not tonic. It is a dominant 7th leading to the 4 chord. So for real, we have a 4 chord in measure 14, ornamented or arrived at with its own dominant 7th. Measures 15 and 16 are like measures 3 and 4, different syllables, different words, 3 and 4. So we have our 5-7, that octave displacement in the left, 5-7 to 1, 5-7 and 1. We have a perfect authentic cadence when we arrive at the end, at measure 17. Interesting statement about cadence is here. Are you going to hear measure 3 as a cadence? No, because the melody continues. Measure 4, you can call the perfect authentic cadence. I'll label that here. If you were just looking at the piano, there'd be a sense in which, oh, that is a perfect authentic cadence, but the text continues. The phrase ends with the piano playing the tonic chord in measure 4 that the voice does not participate in. Similarly, at measure 8, we get a perfect authentic cadence. Measures 1 through 4 repeated in measures 5 through 8, though with different text. Measures 9, 10, 11, and 12, there is another section before the repetition, varied repetition of measures 1 through 4. 9, 10, 11, and 12 starts in the dominant. It doesn't cadence in the dominant. Instead, we get 4, 2, 5 in the key of F sharp minor. This is a half cadence. In our key of F sharp minor, this is a half cadence. We arrived only on 5. We didn't confirm the key of F sharp major by going and actually having an F sharp major triad. It's a half cadence in the relative minor. Measure 13, it's very similar, but not exactly like measure 1, so I can't say equals. I'm going to use the tilde. It's like measure 1, except instead of being a tonic prolongation, it really does point to the subdominant. 14 is like measure 2, except that we have this chromatic passing tone in the F natural that is an inharmonic reference back to the E sharp within the 5 of F sharp minor. Then we have our perfect authentic cadence. At the very end, again, 15 is like measure 3. The voice continues. If you were just looking at the piano, you might say perfect authentic cadence. The voice continues, and again, the voice does not participate in the perfect authentic cadence. I will leave it to you to contemplate the text as to all these issues of the voice doesn't participate in cadences. We have a half cadence in a key to which we never get the tonic triad. We only get the tonic triad of F sharp minor implied but not fully realized. And if you read the text, you'll find that this song is rich with text music relationships. We will be reading about an analysis of this song in the Deborah Stein Engaging Music. You are now prepared to read an analysis having fully analyzed this piece of music.